Hello and welcome back to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. And it brings me great joy, your host, Dr. Cherie Mack, to share this special mini series of episodes created in collaboration with Identity on Time and their Arts Council England funded project, Black Nature in Residence. Identity on Time was set up in 2003 to provide a supportive and encouraging space for global majority creatives in Northeast England. Identity on Time strives to make the cultural and creative industries more diverse, more inclusive and less exclusive. Since 2003, Identity on Time has successfully raised funding again and again to aid its work in making diversity within the arts, culture and heritage seen, heard, and basically just put it on the map. And since 2019, Identity on Time has led its Black Nature in Residence program with the aim of providing more opportunities for creatives of the global majority to connect with nature, to be with nature. So it makes sense the Earth, Sea, Love podcast should partner with Identity on Time with this program because Earth, Sea, Love, the community interest company, is all about opening up the outdoors to diversity, equity, and inclusion through providing regular and regenerative connection with the countryside on our doorsteps. As you know, the Earth, Sea, Love podcast is a space for women, feminine, and non-binary people who are Black, Indigenous, or people of colour to explore their relationship with nature. And it's still committed to exploring these experiences of these people. But this mini-series departs from this commitment only slightly, as for the first time, we will hear the voices of two men on the podcast as we honour the creatives in residence who are part of the Black Nature in Residence program. It was a joy for me to get some time with each creative while in the middle of their residency. Maybe they were just exploring ideas and themes, maybe already completed some workshops and outings, but they were still very open and excited and allowing their own creative path to unfold, all in good time. And going back to these conversations to edit them and then to share them with you, our listeners. As always, it was good practice for me. Good practice in how the wisdom can keep on giving if you remain open, if you continue to have that beginner's mindset. As each time I listen to these episodes, something else is revealed. It's just another example of my favourite concept, palimpsest. We've got that episode on it. But listening again and again is a way of peeling back the layers and diving deeper and deeper into what is being shared in these conversations. The wisdom, as well as the commitment and the imaginings and the joy. Joy. The fifth and final episode in this series will come around after the hiatus, as this mini-series is the last you'll hear from the podcast in 2024, as we need to rest. And we are allowing the fifth creative to rest also and get back to themselves. Have the time and space to reflect on the process and then come back to us with even more wisdom and insight. Time. Time is a precious thing. And what these conversations can demonstrate is how we can use other ways and means of marking the journey, marking the process and the progress outside of colonial clock time. Listen to these episodes and then find the recording of the final showcased event of these creatives, which took place on the evening of the 22nd of October 2024, the final showcase, and compare the movement forward from this marker, this episode of the podcast, which is the mid part for each creative, and see how we find them at the end of the process with that recording of the showcase. What are the differences within the creative themselves, if any? What have been the aha moments, the lasting impressions and growth of having this opportunity to simply be with nature for the creatives? Forget the outputs and outcomes. The aim of the Black Nature in Residence program was to provide the time and space and means to be connected with nature on their own terms. No hidden agendas or demands, just be. And to be honest, this is unique in terms of creative projects. And Identity and Time, with my help and our help here at Earthsea Love, needs to be commended on bringing something different into the world, which is challenging the status quo, is asking those questions about where the value or success lies in such artistic projects. Is it in the end results, or is it, or should it be? Or do we invite you to consider that the value and success is within the process and the practice throughout the project? Here at the Earthsea Love podcast, we cheer for the process and the practice every day of the week. That's where the value lies for everyone involved, we believe. So, welcome back and stay a while as you listen to these 4 lovely episodes and learn more about each creative and their residency within one of the Northern National Parks of England. Thanks for being here. Until next time, bye for now. Hi. In this episode, I'm talking to Jola Olafimihan, who's the creative in residence for Northumberland National Park. Jola writes as a way of understanding all that is around her. She writes as a form of mindful practice and a way to focus her mind. Jola's been enjoying her time out in the Northumberland landscape, where she has been bringing a piece of home to home. What does that mean? Well, Jola's from Nigeria originally, and during her residency, she got the chance to go back home to Nigeria. But while in Nigeria, she also realized that home, back home, is also in England. And there's a tension there, and a conflict maybe, but a way that Jola has found to resolve it is bringing those traditional crafts of creating indigo dyes in Nigeria from the natural landscape, natural plants, and creating new colours and dyes within the Northumberland landscape with Northumberland plants. And this is what she's been exploring throughout her residency. But then also in this episode, we talk about that difference between taking a walk with a predominantly white group in comparison to taking a walk with a group that are global majority people, and how the feelings, the experiences are totally different. How one can be healing and one can be very toxic and harmful. So yeah, let's just get into this episode with Jola. Anyhow, Jola.
Yeah.
Creative in residence for Northumberland National Park. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I appreciate it because I know you're so busy working on your outputs and your outputs.
The inputs.
Yeah.
Inputs.
So, first of all, you've been here on this podcast before, many moons ago now. So it's so good to have you back. I'm sure it was maybe 2020 or was it 2021?
I think these are 2021 because of COVID.
COVID was. Oh, yeah, COVID.
Yeah, because I remember we did it and I was in my room and the old place I stayed and my wall just faced an abandoned factory. There was no greenery. It was just a wall.
Yeah, man.
And it was so hard. But then I started planting inside, so that was quite nice.
Yeah.
But no, it's been so long.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be back.
You've been on a journey since then. So, but let's check on in. So that used to be where you were. Where are you situated now? And have you got any greenery now that you can see outside?
Oh, yes, I am. I'm still in Newcastle, but I'm in another quieter part of Newcastle. I chose my flat because of the blossom trees in front. So although the council cut one down, I don't know why, but I can see all the other trees around me. I don't know why they took that one away, but and I've got a few plants indoors. I have a cat now, so I had to kind of exchange some of my old indoor plants because my Mr. Moon likes to nibble. So I had to make sure they're plant safe. Cat friendly plants. But yeah, I've got loads of green around me now and easy access to a park as well.
That sounds lovely.
And
lovely.
It's been nice moving away from that space because it does help your mental health a bit. I think the only issue that I notice is obviously moving a bit further out means I'm in a less, I would say, diverse area. I am fortunate that like I've seen more of us moving here now, so I'm always like celebrating that. And now there's more there's a Nigerian shop locally that's open, so I'm like, yes. It also helps me with my chronic conditions from traveling so far to get food. But yeah, it's been a journey in terms of also dealing with immigration and kind of trauma and pain and loads of psychotherapy and stuff like that. So I'm still in therapy. I won't lie. Therapy's for everyone. I will say it. But yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to dive a little bit. We'll dive a little bit into that, but not really deep dive personal stuff. I want to know what you're talking about with your therapist. Not that deep. But I want to know how you are able to keep on an even keel in a sense, because I know things can be up and down, and it can be from internal, but then also a lot of external pressures come to bear on the Black female body. Let's just put it out there. So, and I know I don't need to tell you. I know you're feeling it, and I know you go through it. But
Mhm.
let's take a step back and let's just situate yourself. We've got you where you're situated living, and let's
Mhm.
just think about who you be, because I've said that you are the creative in residence for Northumberland National Park. But how did you get there? Or what have you what have you being to get to
Mhm.
this point, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say doing or working at or because it's again that just puts the value of us as human beings on what we do rather than
Yeah.
who we be. So I'm more
Yeah.
interested in who we be and who we being. So whatever, however you want to answer that, tell us who you be.
Well, I would say I'm a creative mind. Uh, Usually I create with writing and words, but also experiment a lot with color. I mean, I've been being me since I've been little, you know? Um, but I think I've always written as a way of expressing myself and just been how I see the world, what's going on around me. And even reading as a little kid, my parents very religious, so you go to church and you're reading all these things. I've been drawing in church sometimes, just as my own doodly mind, just going. Ah. But actually, what I noticed that even in people say the Bible, I liked like Songs of Solomon a lot because I found how rhythmic they were, how romantic they were. I like the poetic style of it.
Mm,
So that's what I guess is part of my childhood of being in terms of verse and writing.
mhm.
And then kind of going, oh, actually, I can do something like this. I can make my own, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say Bible, but my own Bible.
Kind of if you
um,
want to.
yeah, because it's usually like, it matters men, just men. Yeah, just white men. And it's just there's a lot of sexism in there. And I wanna put my own kind of chapter, my own story. I wanna create my own thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's been wonderful for the first residency, it
Mm,
creating with other artists and just sharing and gelling and fusing with each other during a really difficult time. And then now getting this opportunity to kind of vibe again and do it, but also explore something that has been like niggling in the back for a while. Going, when are you going to be able to do this in terms of like color extraction and you
yeah.
know um it's like for me it's personal growth I've
Mm,
been kind of experiencing. So I mean, I don't know how else to be but me.
yeah. And I love that. I love that because there's far too many messages that receive from
Mm,
outside and that we internalize and take on board ourselves, that we being ourselves isn't good enough,
mhm.
or
Yeah.
we being ourselves isn't accepted.
Hmm.
It's too loud, too big, too black, too weak, and yeah, just being ourselves just isn't enough. So I love
Yeah.
to hear that you are continuing to be you. And
Yeah.
just going back to that Bible chapter, I've just finished the book by Christina Cleveland, which is God is a Black Woman. It's all about challenging patriarchal, capitalist, colonialist religion that we are fed by, which has been by white men, and this continued to be perpetuated. But God is a white man with a beard and blue eyes, and that
Hmm.
Mary was a white woman, da, 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 and all this
Hmm.
jazz. And it's challenging that. And it's the case of like seeing God as a Black woman. And when we see God and accept God as a Black woman, it also means that everyone's accepted.
Hmm.
She doesn't judge, she doesn't push you away, she doesn't get you to prove you're worthy of
Hmm.
love. She just gives
Hmm.
it anyway, and
Yeah.
that's what Black women do again and again and again. But let's just clarify. So you were in Black Nature in residence, the first project when it
Yeah.
was during lockdown, and you were in residence with Durham Wildlife Trust, wasn't it?
Hmm.
And now the second Black Nature in Residence 2.0, you were lucky enough, and I say lucky enough, but it wasn't, is what, your talent and your ideas shone through. Now you're in residence with Northumberland National Park. So
Yeah.
how do, you've said you've had this niggling, that's something you wanted to explore. Do you want to
Yeah.
unpack that a bit more? You said about plant extraction. And I'm going to link this in with also your recent trip to your home country, Nigeria, and how's
Yeah.
that feeding into your ideas or what you want to explore? Because that's what you said, you were exploring.
Exploring. Yeah. Yeah. So this time, like not being able to go back to Nigeria for 12 years, it's a lot to unpack there. One of the things I've always wanted, that I've loved since I was a kid, was adire, which is the traditional dyeing, indigo dyeing of Yoruba people, my cultural background. And I've loved how diverse the patterns are, how unique they are, how the colors are extracted traditionally from plants, from the indigo plants, but you also get other plants that add different colors. But the most famous ones are the indigo dyes. And obviously, since synthetic dye has come in, a lot of that, the artisanal skills have been lost over time. There's still some artisans that are working to kind of recreate and support younger generations to learn. And it's something I wanted to do actually when I was young, but I'm here studying software engineering and then business management, and I'm like, oh, that's how I will never be able to do this, and I want to do this. Um, and finally, this residency, I would say, to be honest, has given me that opportunity. Um, and kind of going home and being able to initially was to get some closure. Because obviously I've not my mom passed and I wasn't able to be at her funeral and all that. But also to see my younger sister kind of as she's progressed in her life and she's flying off for a master's degree, there's a lot of shock. But also to see the land and see how things have changed in that time, to see visit and see how new art forms and old are merging and fusing.
Mm,
Um, but one of the things I did mention to you was solastalgia. So
mm,
we found the word, the change of the climate and the environment there, and
mm,
how kind of shocking that was for me in certain areas that I would know as forest land just being turned into a massive, basically another city. Um, but it's kind of whenever I go back, I always get refreshed and re-energized. There's that energy that comes from the soil,
mm.
that comes from the people. And I think maybe people just need to go. You need to go, and it helps me refresh myself. And
Mm,
I felt like I needed that as well.
mm,
And I needed to bring that into this residency.
mm,
So reconnecting back home, experimentation with color extraction from plants and infusing that into my work this time is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And to be honest, it's been such a massive learning curve as well. And
yeah.
it's been so exciting to see and even like to discuss with people and find out that it's not something that's generally done here. I mean, I went to the library and I found a couple of books in the city library about color extraction. They call it vegetable colors. And the last time it was checked out was 1975. I'm the most recent person who's checked it out, and these books are so old, but also so full of knowledge. And it's kind of sad that, it does say in here because of, synthetic dyes, people have kind of moved away
Yeah.
from these traditional roots and also learning what plant does what. And I think people forget it's not just only the color. Once you're talking about it, you find out, oh, this is a herbal thing and this part is useful for this. And, you
Medicine.
know, medicine and weaving and cloth making, just skills that tend to
The,
disappear.
yeah, and I think that's gone with that disconnection from the land.
Exactly.
And it has been also with that industrialization, which has
Mm-hmm.
taken the land off the people,
Mm-hmm.
where took them off the land, built the factories or taken over the land and they're farming it now and you can come on, but you'll have to be a tenant.
Yeah.
And it is a case of like that enclosure of the land and having land in a few hands and the
Mm-hmm.
majority of the land that has meant that there's been that disconnection from the land, disconnection from those traditional crafts and ways of going. And now it is so almost like a niche area where we have
Exactly.
artisans or craft people who might have to be relearning this. And in a sense, if you want to learn it yourself, you can teach yourself, or you can buy somebody else to teach you it, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean. So now it's become a commodity in the sense
Mm.
when everybody will probably know, it was just passed on through the family, through,
Exactly.
the community. And that's such a dying shame. And what you were saying about Nigeria and about going home and connecting, reconnecting with the land, and also, I've got that idea here of, do you feel like you've got two homes? Um,
Yeah.
you've been, as you're saying, it's like 12 years since you've been back home to Nigeria. So
Mm-hmm.
when you were there, were you feeling out of place? And not just from the changes that were happening, but actually the changes that were happening in the society, in the village, in the community with the land grab and all that jazz. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, within yourself and your body back in that
Mm-hmm.
space.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was really shocking because different points I would say to my sister, oh, yeah, when I go home, I'll
Mm,
do this, this, and this. And then she goes, what do you mean? This is your home. And I said, yeah, 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 this is my home. But there's my home too. That land is also mine now. You
mm,
know, it's very, initially it was a bit like shocking to say that. But I was like, oh, yeah, I've been here for so long. This is my home. I've got a cat back home waiting for me. I've got community back home.
yeah.
But I've also got that community there. I think there are things that obviously that I don't gel with in terms of politics, some politics back in Nigeria and some ideas and stuff. But I think you find that everywhere, in even in yeah, here in the UK. But that is still my home. It gives me a different type of recharge that I need.
Mm,
And this place as well is still my home because it also gives me a different energy,
mm,
um, that connection that I need as well. So it's like it's really strange to say, but I have two homes, and in a sense, I have one home. Earth is my home.
mm,
You know,
mm.
it until we started drawing lines on things, you could just go anywhere. You were
But
free.
we didn't draw the lines
No,
though.
no, we didn't, but
Didn't, you know
they
what I'm
they
saying?
did.
We didn't have that privilege, that luxury, that power. We just deal with the consequences and we
Mm,
continue to deal with the consequences. As if you think, what you're saying about when you went and like the green's gone, like it's been extracted
oh yeah.
and it is maybe outsiders that have come in and exploiting and extracting from the landscape and the
Mhm,
community. And that's
mhm,
colonialism, imperialism, and
mhm,
that has been done from time and it continues on now. And it is the root cause of all the trauma, I think, that we suffer now. Instead of making it individualized and putting it down to that, oh, that individual, you are depressed and you don't have that energy for work because of something within yourself, or maybe it
mhm.
was your mother's fault. We've got to go back to the mother. It's always the
Yeah.
mother. But
Mm,
really, if we go a bit deeper, there is that deep-seated trauma of being disconnected from the land, disconnected from
mhm.
our homes, being
Yeah.
being yeah, either pulled off the land, torn away from our family and community. That is
Mhm.
the bedrock of all the illness and the trauma that we are feeling.
That is very,
Everyone, not just black bodies and brown bodies, but also white bodies. You
yeah,
know, that's in their history. If they weren't the perpetrators, they were also on the other end. Because, I was talking to someone yesterday and we were on about how, colonialism got its first bared its teeth within Scotland and Ireland. The English
yes. Hmm.
colonizing Scotland and Ireland so they could reap the rewards and like, oh, let's go a bit further now and get even expand it. So
Yeah.
it's always been there, colonialism. And it's just like nobody talks about it. Nobody addresses it. Nobody, that's in the past. Let's move on. Let's forget about it. But it's
Yeah.
not, it's still happening.
It's still happening. Someone's still reaping the benefits of the things that they say is in the past. It's still current. I
Yeah.
mean, we still have companies in Nigeria that are extracting and taking. And even when they're like, oh, there's oil bunkering and it's the locals that are stealing their oil to sell, it's the oil was from the locals' land. You
Yes.
stole that away from them. So they're trying to survive because you've been drilling, the local lands have been destroyed, they can't fish, they can't grow anything, they can't feed their families,
Yeah.
they're becoming sick.
Yeah.
You expect them to move away from their indigenous land and
Mm.
they're suffering from poverty and you blame them for that. And
Yeah.
then you go, oh, I'll
Tanzania.
just.
It's happening in Tanzania now. You
Mhm,
know, it's happening in Tanzania now. Farmers, traditional farmers that who herd cattle, they're being forced off. They're nomadic. Yeah,
mhm,
they live in
nomadic.
relationship with the landscape, the ecosystem. And now
Mhm,
they're saying to them, oh, you are taking the resources out the land too much because of your population increase. We must manage you. We must put you into one area. And then this rest of the area is going to be used as a Dubai estate home,
mhm,
private hunting ground. Yeah. And this is
mhm,
conservation. Even if we think about all the wars that are taken now, Gaza,
mhm.
yes, the Palestinians, that has all come from colonialism and
Oh,
white people moving in and cutting up the land to suit themselves, not recognizing the human beings that were living there already.
mhm.
You know, when the
I mean, they saw them, but they were just like, you're not human. You're
yeah,
not the same as
exactly,
me.
yeah,
Like, it's also like when they cut up and divide these roots, they plan ahead for their future generations and how things will impact their future generations. So it's beneficial for them later on, even after they die. The design of Nigeria was so that we could keep fighting each other and endlessly rely on British support and British help. We would never be able to kind of stand on our own. And when things were going great, then the British would kind of put in, as I would say, a figurehead, support someone financially to get to the top and cause chaos and bedlam. And it was always, people go, oh, the country is corrupt and it's got problems. Well, yes, but that's coming from somewhere, isn't it? And the UK is corrupt, but it's very, very, say, under the table style corruption until obviously the Tories are doing it now in your face and everyone's really surprised. And I'm like, well, it's always been here. You've always had corruption in your systems. But it was just very well hidden and organized. When it's come to us, when they bring it to us, it's done in our face, it's touted in our faces to kind of put us under. People try their best to survive. And yes, there is chaos in some sense, but to be honest, I love the chaos of Lagos. There's nothing like it. It's very different, and I understand the disconnect that people have when they're removed from nature
yeah,
because you see it all the time. When an area has less green, people are more stressed.
yeah,
Um, People are, and to be honest, there's been I've forgotten the name of the researcher where it was about council areas, council where councils tend to build their properties, and you can just notice how much effort the council puts in an area when there's more green
mm,
and they take care of that area more, they take care of the properties more, people are a bit more happier.
mhm.
But then when there's less, the council doesn't really care as much. I've been since I can't remember the name of the book. I read it when I lived with Peter and Lucy. Um, since I've read that, I kind of started noticing in
Mm,
different areas of Newcastle
yeah.
kind of what's going on, less support in terms of people's mental health and housing support, or even when it comes to social services, or even basic stuff like taking the bins away, they come around less.
Yeah.
Um, things like that, that just to impact people's, psyche. Crazy, but I think people need to look at their environments a bit more. And when people are detached, general public speaking, I don't blame them for it
Oh no,
because it's been,
what we live in. It's the culture that we live in.
oh yeah,
And it's insidious and it's subliminal and it's fed into us. We're socialized into it. It's like that. It's that fish and not knowing that what they're swimming in. They're swimming in,
mhm,
not noticing they're swimming in the water, you know,
yeah, having a good time, but they don't know.
everywhere. It's just
Yeah.
everywhere. It's the Maasai. Is it the Maasai?
Ah, the Maasai tribes.
Yeah. The Serengeti lands. It's
Um,
happening there. Putting the blame on them who've lived for generations on the land in harmony with the land. No problem, no overgrazing. And now they're saying you're overgrazing, so we need to conserve and protect the land by shoving you off it and bringing in foreign people so they can have their private
yeah,
hunting, the
God.
hunting and
And
all,
that's
and that's
conserving the land.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
take away the protectors of the land that know what they've been doing.
it's disseminating the community.
Yeah.
That's all they do is farm. And then if they can't do that, they have to farm for other people for a pittance of pay. Anyhow,
Exactly.
sorry.
No,
Let's
no, no, it's okay.
but the thing is, it's like we're here talking about the creative in residence for the Black Nature in Residence project. This is what we bring to these
Mhm.
projects, we bring in these global views which may be lacking in the local. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important. We come as people of the global majority into our regional areas. And in this case, it's the conservation and protection area with the
Mhm.
national parks. We would be doing a disservice to ourselves and them if we didn't draw upon our own cultures and heritage and histories, because that's
Mhm.
we are whole human beings, or we're trying becoming whole human beings. And because of that, we do come with our histories, our traumas, our families, our communities, our stories. And that's what I think is really important about this residency. So we've talked about what you are excited about exploring. How are you finding working with the organization? Because this is a predominantly white.
Organization. Yeah. I would say it's been kind of, for me, a bit tricky as well. It's been great, but also tricky. And I will say tricky because I think obviously with the organization, they come with their own ideas of what an artist in residence is, or maybe what we'll be doing or bringing, or what the end result is going to be. And you don't have that same agreement. So it's like trying to find a balance where you're saying, look, I'm gonna be doing my research, I'm gonna spend time doing my thing. I have my own plans and I understand that you have yours, but my plans are important, you know. And I think Northumberland Park Authority has been quite good with when they started and we kind of come back to them and say, look, this is what we're doing, and they've been a bit supportive and understanding. So I would say for this residency, I mean, having the support of yourself and Identity of Time has been really great, because I feel like if I've had any, I can always come to you and say, am I going crazy here? Am I wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, sometimes, you don't want to be the type of person that might be overthinking all the time. And I do have anxiety, so I will admit that sometimes I do overthink things.
Mm.
But in this case, I have not been.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and I've been able, I would say, because of how this residency has been going, I've been feeling empowered to speak up a bit more for myself as an artist. So, yes.
Yes, I
But
like
I've
that.
also, because we've been taking out our own group, people of global majority, taking out LGBT plus peoples of the global majority. I've noticed obviously differences in our groups, how we behave when we explore the land and enjoy the land.
Mm.
And to be honest, it's more of like we're having a good time. You know what I mean? Like we're chatting, we're loving it. People are taking pictures. We're chilling. Like this is my backyard.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and we're having a good time. And then I've been on other groups, and I would say they're just white groups, and I'm the only black person there. And that is the truth. I'm the only black person there. There's no other person of color. And it's always very stern and very method. Like we're doing this, we bang, bang, bang. And you say, well, okay, I've just gone for a walk. And to be honest, I would have I would have preferred going back with our group because I would take our group back on that same walk. And I feel more like connected and we would have enjoyed it more. And I also feel sad for the majorly white group because I feel like because they're just within their own bubble, they're not experiencing the joys that we're bringing. Do you know what I mean?
Oh God.
It's so wow, like even the environment that we went for the walk, it would have been a day where you could have a laugh, You could have loosened up and giggled your way all the way home. But I was the only one giggling.
We must sort it out then to take the visible group there. If you remember where it
Oh, I
was.
remember the walk. Oh God,
Yeah.
they would love it.
So we must double back. We must
Yeah.
double back and experience it because it's so weird that you say that because
Mhm.
somebody asked me yesterday, okay, what's your motivation for work? And straight away I said joy.
Yeah.
It's not money. It's a case of like I do what I do out of joy. And they looked at me and says, "Oh my gosh, that's the first time I've heard anyone say that." And I
Mhm.
thought, oh my gosh, that is sad. That is a sad case of affairs. But that is the case of affairs. It is people are doing things, and I'm saying about doing, working or have profession or careers, and they're doing it and they're not enjoying it or they're
Mhm.
not getting that fulfillment that they wanted out of it, but they're still doing it. And I
Mhm.
said, no, I got out of teaching because that was soul destroying. I was losing myself. I wasn't happy and I got out of it. Again, it was because I have to feel the joy in everything that I do. I have to feel the joy because what's the point of doing it anyway? If you're not feeling
Exactly.
the joy, I'm not going through the motions just because somebody says I should go through the motions or it's expected me to go through the motions. It's joy, joy. Yeah. And it's interesting that you can see that difference between the
Um,
joy when you're out with people from the global majority who look like you, who
mm,
who maybe have similar experiences of, immigration that you've mentioned, left their country because of so many different reasons that have created trauma. But here
mhm,
they are out in a new landscape where they're trying to make a new home and they're
mhm.
still being able to tap into that joy.
Exactly. Which is amazing and beautiful. And then we're sharing. And I mean, to be honest, when I went on the other guy, I was like, nah, I'm not doing this again.
You sure? Because there's a long list for the summer. There's a long
Mm,
list for the summer of walks coming out.
I know, but
More
I'm
than
thinking,
welcome to get booked on.
I know, I looked at them and I said, no, I don't mentally want to put myself through this
That
because
is it.
it
Mentally,
is,
it's
yeah.
physically there, but it's an emotional and a psychological and a mental experience. And I want to put in traumatic, disturbing,
Mhm.
because I'm not going to talk to you, but tell us, how was it in that?
I mean, I've explained even to Mandy from the park authorities. My experience was really like from the get-go, where you know you say hello and everything. We started walking, and we're talking about future walks that would be interesting to me. And the walk leader then goes, "That's if you're still around." And I go, "Where am I going?
Do
Where
you
am
know
I going?"
something I don't?
Yeah, like, do you know? So I just realized that he doesn't think I'm from around here. You're not from around here, girl. So that's how I felt immediately. I was like, oh, this is gonna be, oh, I want to go home now. But
Yeah.
then, I went with my partner and my friend, and I was hoping that, that would help a bit, from all this. So because there's a good big group, the people get distracted. And as we kept going for the walk, I kept getting asked if I was okay, if I'm enjoying myself. It was just me getting asked, "Are you okay? Are you all right? Are you enjoying myself?" I'm like, I'm not at the back of the group. I'm clearly doing quite well. I'm loving this. And I kept having to say, I'm a lowland walking leader. I do recce too. I know what I'm doing. I love being in the outdoors. I go for walks myself. And it just started to get irritating. There was another person who was on the walk, and she says she walks with them often. And she was introducing herself to every other person. But with me, she didn't go, "Hi, my name is this." She just said, "Oh, where are you from?" So where are you from? And I went, "Hmm? Where are you from?"
Laughing. I'm even laughing, but like, here, hi, how you doing? My name's such and such, and then comes to you and say, where you
Like, where are you from, you black lady? Where are you from? Clearly not from around here, not from this village.
I think that's why she was asking you, because you're a black lady.
I mean, it's very obvious. There's no other reason. You know what I mean? I mean, because the thing is, I've got really sharp ears. I'm listening to, I don't mean to
Yeah.
snoop, but I listen to
No,
conversations.
no, I do too. I do too. It's
Yeah.
because no, I think it's a hypersensitivity of like where you are, with the surroundings. It's about
Hmm.
feeling safe and comfortable, and for me to be that, I do need to be on alert.
And to be honest, now I'm thinking about it. I remember when I was quite young, and we'd communicate as kids because Nigeria has so many different languages. And if someone was saying something like really in a conversation in another language, there was always this girl who I was friends with who would say, "Hey, hey, 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 we don't want you to sell us. We need to know what you're saying." So I think that's where that you start listening because you're hypersensitive to your environment. You need to be careful. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who's there to harm you. You don't know who's there to support you. So that might be it. I've just remembered that now. Oh my God.
Wow. I
God.
love that how it comes back. Those things,
Yeah, that's
they're in our
crazy.
body, man. They're in our
Mm,
body and they come back. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, but
Yeah,
just
so yeah, where you from? So how did you
well,
answer?
I was like, "Newcastle." She said, "Ah." And I said, "Where you from?" And then she goes, "Oh, locally from blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I continued walking. And then she goes, "So what are you doing? What, blah, blah." And I'm like, "I don't know you.
Hmm.
You've not said your name. There's no introduction. I'm not human to you. I'm just that random face who's doing some random stuff to you that you just want to tag,
But she
you
has a
know?"
right to know.
I
She's asking
know.
a question. She has a right to know, and you better tell her. Girl.
Yeah, so it was not a good experience to be honest, because I even had I didn't tell Mandy about this. I even had because one of the walk leaders asked me what our project was about. So he's like, "Oh, what's your project? Tell me about it." So I was telling him, "I Black Nature in Residence, different parks, and we're set at different artists. It's gonna be exciting." I was getting really excited. Another person later asked me, "So where am I from? Like, so what is my indigenous background, my ethnic background?" And I was like, I'm not ashamed. I'm a proud Yoruba woman, man. But like, this is a war where it was supposed to be learning about Romans to railways and about the local history and the land. And I'm feeling like everyone's asking me questions. And at the end of the walk, my friend who came with me, who was initially going, "Oh, I've got other white groups that you could walk with," and I was saying, "I'm not comfortable doing that." I experienced this whole thing with me, and she said, "I'm so sorry, I'm so uncomfortable. It made me so uncomfortable watching and seeing all of that because they wouldn't stop." And I said, "Now, do you understand why I don't want to do white groups?" And
Yeah.
she said, "Yes." You know, at first, when you,
But let's just take a step back. The thing that also is in there is you might have discussed this before and said this before, and it hasn't been accepted, or it hasn't been believed, or it's your issue, it's your problem. And
yeah,
when they've experienced it or seen the evidence or the proof themselves, it is a case of like, oh, now you've proved it, now I understand. And
mhm,
that in itself is a microaggression there itself. It's like,
mhm,
I've told you about this, but what? You had to see it for yourself to believe it.
mhm.
My word and my experience isn't enough.
Yeah, because I think it goes back to like, was it the other person from the farm, where it's like they think we perceive
Oh
racism,
yes.
we don't
You
experience
perceive
racism.
racism in the
Yeah,
countryside.
yeah,
You
we perceive it, you know.
perception. That was so maddening. It's like,
Um,
do you realize? I mean, it comes down to language here. Language is loaded.
mhm,
Um, and there's also intention as well that's in there. And again, it is that dismissive, your opinion, your experience, what you're telling me really doesn't matter. Really
mhm,
doesn't matter because I've got my own opinions. I've got my own experience. I haven't experienced racism, so therefore it doesn't exist. Well, you wouldn't
mhm.
experience racism if you're a white woman.
Yeah,
Kicks for an
it's
ass. Come on, come on. But
I
it's not
know.
even having that expansive, open view. It's like,
No.
please, please, please. I mean, that's what that's why, and I'm saying it here, and I will repeat it because I keep repeating it through this project. When things get skewed or the normal way of operating comes in. But this is
Mhm.
a black-led project. Black
Yeah.
nature in residence, point one, point two, point three, who knows, is a black-led project. And that means that we've done the work to get the money so we can pay the creatives in residence. So the only people the creative in residence have to answer to is us, identity on time. But
Mhm.
we're not asking them to be bending over backwards or answering to us. We're not on their cases. Are we on your case, Jola? Is identity on time on your case? Are we making demands on you?
No, no, unless they're secret demands, I don't know about. I'm
And
joking. There's nothing.
that's how unique this project is. We're paying you to
Mm. To
be
just
in
be,
nature.
yeah.
We
Mm.
are trying to support your development personally, professionally, creative, whatever development it is.
And
You're not.
you'd be surprised actually how many people don't understand that.
Yes. It's like we're
Because
speaking a different language. We're speaking a foreign language. We're already speaking a foreign language, obviously, because it's coming out of a black mouth. But even to really mess with the language and say we don't want any demands, we don't really want any outcomes. It's like, what? What are you saying? Of course, we have to um meet some things for the funding criteria. This is public funding. We recognize that. But at the same time, there is creative fugitivity that is happening within this project. Yeah, we want freedom. We demand freedom. And we create those spaces where we can have those glimmers, those lingers of freedom. Otherwise, otherwise, why do it? Where's the joy? How can we feed our souls if we're working for the white man all the time?
you
All
get
the
burnt out. Been another journey. It's been a good journey for me this time, I think. Because I'm getting out there. I'm having a good time.
good, good. Let's
Connecting to
talk
plants.
about what you got planned. What you got planned coming up? Any outings for yourself? Any group outings?
Well, for myself, but I'm having one next week, just myself. Um,
Yes.
I got some collecting to do.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can get some since spring has sprung. See if I can get back some fresh bramble leaves because my old bramble sauce, as I was saying earlier, has gone moldy. So, but it came out a beautiful color. It's just, sadly,
Mm.
um, I needed soda ash and some alum to turn into actual powdered pigment.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I didn't get that in time, so oh well.
Well,
But
you learn an experience. That's what it is.
oh yeah, it is. It's
I,
like
yeah.
it's so much fun and it's a lot of learning. And I feel like, I'm going on that journey with other creators, which is really nice. But yeah, and then we've got one planned for Refugee Week, the end of Refugee Week. So I'm looking forward to
What
getting
are you
out
going to
there.
do? What are you going to do? Do you know what you're going to do? Have you got any plans?
Oh, we're gonna take a lovely group out so that they could disconnect from the mess and chaos that is Newcastle sometimes, and
Yeah.
also some kind of information that they keep getting told. I mean, a lot of people that in this group will have positive or negative information from the Home Office, the solicitors. They've already had trauma. So it's about getting out there with ourselves, connecting to Adrian's Wall, talking to each other, sharing stories. And, some people want to improve their English, so we'll practice in English, but I don't mind us like sharing words with each other. The main theme is about home for Refugee Week. Like I said, the subject of home can be very traumatic and triggering, especially if you've been forcibly removed from your home by war or other types of trauma. So I hope that us going out together as a group will kind of help each other heal.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll talk about what I'm doing, hopefully get them kind of excited, maybe do it themselves at home when they can, something that they can teach each other. We can share about herbs from home and things like that. So I'm really excited to be able to do that together. I think it'll be like a bonding moment. I think how I feel about it, rather than just talking about pain. It's about healing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that's
and
what nature has. It has the capacity to heal us.
mhm,
Um, and we just need to connect, reconnect, have those
mhm,
opportunities to connect, take those opportunities to connect, um,
yeah.
but not just do it in a selfish way because it is a reciprocal um relationship. Well, that's the way I see it. It's
Mhm,
like I get a lot from nature. Then, so what can I give back to nature? How am
mhm,
I supporting her in her time of need? You know?
mhm,
And it is trying to get more active within climate justice,
mhm,
and try and do more things or be more things. I don't know. Maybe I'm not stagnant, but maybe I'm just paralyzed a bit because of the enormities that are happening
mhm.
around the world, to the world. And it's just like, what can little old me do to help, to
Mhm.
support? But maybe I do it. I don't know. I don't know.
We do it in our own way, and together, I think. Like,
Yeah, I
you
do
know,
think it has to be together. I do think we
yeah.
need that community and collective. And it's not just for the bad in the sense of the work that we have to do to mitigate the destruction that's happening, but then also it's that community and collective care as
Yeah.
well. It's knowing that we're there for each other in all those times of need and joy,
Mhm.
pleasure and trauma, and it's just having that around us. Well, it's there already. It's just tapping in to it and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, maybe, and
Yeah.
allowing ourselves to really collect, not connect,
Mhm.
instead of that shallow level all the time, but that deeper level.
Yeah.
And that does take time. It is a slow
Oh
process,
yeah.
but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. No,
So
it definitely is. It takes time, like you said, and it is worth it. And to be honest, that it can save a life, to be honest. And different cases where that has. But for me, it's community and safe spaces. We understand obviously the impact of climate change within our countries. I see back home, back in Nigeria, and it's insane. But also, the way people try to proceed and live their lives and kind of love and heal and in their own way is important.
mm,
So we give back what we can and connect, not just give back. I don't like that. I give. Um, we feed into each other as
mm,
much as we can. But I feel like we should also heal in our own way as well.
mm.
Because seeing all of this, Palestine, Sudan, I mean, this young boy black boy who's just been murdered in London. Um, just yeah, yeah, just it's a lot, and the feelings of unsafety, the feelings of not being welcome, even though other people are saying you're welcome here. This is your home too. Um,
Where we're still othered. That's
yeah,
as you just clearly described with your walk, which was
mm,
about the landscape, the heritage there, made to feel as other.
other, yeah. That's why it's important for us to create community spaces, our own spaces
Yeah,
that will heal.
we keep getting asked that question though. Why do
And
you have your own space?
yeah,
Why I'm no longer talking to white people about racism. Renee
mm,
Lodge, whatever her name, I remember it. It's like, I totally get that now. Because you can have the same conversation again and again, a sea of white faces, and it's just the same conversation. And it's like, I'm not saying I'm not talking, it's just a case of like, I'm transferring my energy because I'm tired. I'm
it
tired.
is exhausting.
It is
It's,
exhausting.
it's exhausting. And I've said before, like, even when the term global majority was used and the person said, in a group, oh, what is that? What is that? And I said to Rachel later, I said, well, if they don't know what it is, there's Google. You Google, you educate yourself now. It's not our job. Mm.
Is that what they're using now? Or is that what they're accepting now?
Yeah. And
Then
is this widely accepted?
it's what I'm using now because I am choosing to self-define myself now
Mhm.
instead of being given these labels.
Exactly.
But yeah, but let's finish on some joy. What have
Yeah.
you got in place for your self-care, Jola? Because we need self-care. Self-care is also community care, I will add there. But what practices, what have you got in place that brings you joy, brings you pleasure, makes you feel good, heals you? We've talked about nature, obviously. Any
Yeah.
of them?
Therapy.
Oh yeah, that's
Therapy. Therapy. Find yourself a therapist, a psychologist that you connect with. My lovely,
very
lovely.
important that
Oh
you
God,
connect with.
yes. That you feel safe with.
Yeah.
My lovely cat boy over here be keeping me company.
Mr.
Um,
Moon, shout out
Mr.
to
Moon.
Mr. Moon.
He's passed out asleep on the window. So he comes round. I think I got him at the right time. He was about to be put in a shelter by a friend's friend. So he's been with me since, and he's been really supportive in his own way.
But
he,
no,
he he knows when I'm stressed out, and that's something that really surprises me sometimes. And he knows when I'm really fatigued. and or I get like the chronic pain, nerve cramps. So he comes and lays with me, tries to purrs away and tries to heal. Um, and obviously magnesium salts. I will say that for people who have nerve damage, soak yourself with that. That helps. Um, and connecting with people around me that love me and understand me, talking to me, allowing me to vent my frustrations at the world sometimes. Um, Sometimes just even talking to myself. I know sounds crazy, but I have conversations with myself. My mom used to say only teachers, a teacher because they talk to themselves. So I'm like, yeah, I used to be a teacher back in the day. So I'm what else? Sleep. And if you get the internet always sends you stuff that is toxic sometimes.
Mm.
You don't always have to feed into it, just disconnect from it.
Yeah.
Because it's sometimes that you will get stuff that is really joyful and sometimes really painful.
Mm.
But yeah, sometimes it's just rest, connectivity, my cat, some food,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Food. Mm.
spicy chickpeas yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so good. All these things, in a sense, have been really supportive and helpful for me to blossom and grow. And I think it's mainly having amazing community, amazing friends. I think obviously having a space of my own where I can blah is
Yeah.
very important. Healing. Nature is always there. I mean, for me. So that's an extra part. And I'm grateful for it. And also, I hope more people get access to more natural spaces from our communities.
Yeah.
I think we deserve it. It's
Yeah.
taken away from us for too long now.
Well, let's just leave it on that note. Yeah, because it's been a pleasure, Jola. It really has to connect
Thank you.
with you and see how the residency's going. But we started off with the blossom outside
Mhm.
your window, and you just finished with the blossom and how you are blossoming at
Oh,
this time. So thank you so much for being so open and transparent and bringing such a big heart. So thank you so much for your time.
thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I was able to come on the podcast today.
Yes, yes, you are part of the Earthsea Love community.